Hi you guys, and welcome to today's episode of The Daily Grind. Today I want to talk to you about fitting because I am making a jacket, and I want to talk to you about the back because whenever you go to fit a garment, a lot of people focus on the bust area, and you really need to focus on the back first because everything that's going on the back will affect the front. And I'm going to tell you a story about what happened to me back in about 2005 or 2006. I was really starting to get into fitting because I just didn't have a good knowledge of fitting. Good knowledge of sewing, but not of fitting. So what happened was I was making shirt after shirt, and I would post my pictures and I would ask people what's wrong. I'm still getting drag lines pointing to the bust, and people would say to me, "Oh, you need a full bust adjustment." Okay, so I would do a full bust adjustment and I would still see those drag lines. And so they'd say, "Oh, you need a full bust adjustment. It's still too tight." I must have done 3 full bust adjustments and restitched everything up, and I still got that pulling. Why? Because when I pinched around the bust, I had plenty of extra fabric. I could pull it out probably like 3 or 4 inches in front of my body. There was ample room. So what is going on? All right, so fast forward a couple of years later, I took a class by the late, great Shannon Gifford. And what she told me, we had to do a muslin, but what she told me was that a lot of my problems right here are caused by the back. Specifically, now I have this on my dress form right now. So if I take all the clothes off my dress form, you're going to see that I have uneven shoulders. So it was really critical that I address this because everything hangs from the shoulders. I like to work with that top-down approach. With the pair of pants, I like to make sure everything is anchored at the waist. You know, some people put the waistband on last, but I think putting the waistband on first is really critical because you got to get that right, and then everything hangs from there. I truly feel the fit of the waistband, when you put it on afterwards, can adjust the fit or can alter that fit. So I like to do top-down approach for my garments on the bodice and top-down approach for pants and skirts. That may differ a little bit from certain types of fitting methods, but I did see one fitting method in which I read about that, and it made a whole lot of sense. So what I discovered taking Shannon Gifford's class is she made us do a gingham, quarter-inch gingham shell down about 3 to 4 inches off of the shoulder in the front and the back. And what I discovered is that my right shoulder is more forward than my other shoulder. And being that it's more forward, I have more length here on the back than I would have on the other side. Now I could be reversing my size. I don't know because my dress form is not naked. So I can't remember which shoulder it was. But my right shoulder is definitely more forward. Now what was happening here is because my one shoulder in the back is more rounded than the other, that is reflected on the front. So my one shoulder was actually creating a drag line from the shoulder to the bust. Now you would think shoulder to the bust on one side only, well maybe one boob is bigger than the other. Well, it didn't turn out to be anything having to do with the front. It's that I had to add a little bit more to my back shoulder seam because I needed more fabric to go around this little hump right here, okay? Also, I have very prominent shoulder blades. I have a broad back. So I got those chicken wings back there. And those will take up more length as well as more width. So I always have to alter my pattern for a broad back. So this right here and having one shoulder asymmetrical really can cause a lot of problems on my particular figure, thinking that I have something going on in the front when it's not the front at all, all right? And then right here, I use this jacket because I want to highlight something that is very common to me because I've talked about a center back seam before. On this garment, I have a center back seam, and I kind of exaggerate it, but not really, because when I use a center back seam and I slightly curve it at the back, one of the problems is I get these X drag lines right here, okay? So what I need to do to really mold this to my body is create princess seams going down the back. Now, I could leave that center back seam, and sometimes I do. But when I made this again, and I think I made about 3 versions of this jacket, I created princess seams as well as that center back seam because it gave me 3 seams to really tweak the shaping. And what I did was, if I needed a little bit more fullness in this area where my shoulder blades are, and I typically do, that's where I I do alter for a broad shoulder, but I can really mold this to my body, because when I see these arrows going up here, they're pointing to my full shoulder blades, all right? Everything's kind of pulling right here, and I'm getting diagonal drag lines right in this section. Some people can just get away perfectly with only a center back seam. Some people like me, I can have a center back seam, but I absolutely need princess seams in certain styles. And sometimes I can get by just with using princess seams. Your body is unique and individual, and you have to determine what works well for you. But I guarantee you, the more seams you have to fit, the better off you're going to be in the long run, because you can really tweak it to your figure and get the exact fit that you are looking for. If I can find a picture, I'm going to put a picture of this actually modeled when I made it many years ago, so you can see those X drag lines. And that used to drive me crazy, but not anymore, because now I know how to fit my garments a lot better. So just remember, if you are making some type of jacket or fitted garment, you must address the back, and you must address it. Maybe you have forward shoulders. If that shoulder seam isn't sitting right down on the center, you may need to move your shoulder seam forward. You may need to have a high round back adjustment. If your garments always stick out from your neck, you may have to do an additional alteration. These are not hard, but it really does help to take a class on fitting, and I will always go through and explain to you what fit issues I personally face and how I address them, because something I say may affect you, and it may get you thinking about maybe something that is more applicable to your figure. All right, so never stop learning. And that's what I wanted to tell you today about fitting, because I am working on my dress, my pink leopard print dress, to get the perfect fit. All right, you guys, enjoy your day. I hope you learned something about addressing the back first and then going to the front.